Hello, my friends. So I thought I would do a zombie one of my favorite as a kid, and I'm a Resident Evil geek, so that would explain a lot. And watch till the end got important info on what's to come. Cheers. The cold, sterile air of the morgue clung to Amy's skin as she moved through the dimly lit corridors. It was a night like any other, or so she thought. Amy had been working the night shift at St. Agnes Hospital's morgue for years, acclimating herself to the eerie silence and the unsettling hum of fluorescent lights. Tonight, however, would be different. As the clock struck midnight, the hum seemed to fade, replaced by an unsettling stillness. Amy, a young woman with a penchant for the macabre, couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. A sense of unease crept into the corners of her consciousness, and she found herself glancing over her shoulder at every echo and creak. In the silence, a subtle noise reached her ears, a faint rustling like fabric sliding against metal. She paused, her eyes narrowing in an attempt to locate the source. The morgue, usually filled with the stillness of the deceased, now seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Cautiously, Amy followed the sound, her footsteps echoing in the empty hallways. The rustling led her to the door of the autopsy room, its frosted glass window revealing nothing but darkness beyond. As she pushed the door open, a chilling draft grazed her skin, and the sterile scent of formaldehyde hung heavy in the air. The room was dimly illuminated by the overhead lights, casting long shadows that danced on the pull-out body tables lining the walls. 20 of them stood like silent sentinels, each covered with a white sheet. Amy hesitated, her eyes scanning the room for any sign of movement. The rustling persisted, growing louder as if beckoning her further into the chamber of the dead. Summoning her courage, Amy approached the nearest table. With a deep breath, she grasped the edge of the sheet and pulled it back. To her horror, the body beneath stirred, its limbs twitching unnaturally. Amy stumbled back, her heart pounding as she watched the once lifeless form come to grotesque life before her eyes. The other tables responded in pure creepiness, sheets slithering to the floor as corpses rose with eerie grace. Panic gripped Amy as she realized she was surrounded by the reanimated dead. Their eyes, vacant and milky, fixated on her with a hunger that transcended the grave. Flight mode kicked in, and Amy sprinted towards the exit, the haunting moans of the undead echoing in her wake. As she burst through the doors into the hallway, Amy skidded to a stop. The morgue, once a place of silent repose, had transformed into a nightmare. The walking dead shuffled towards her from all directions, their limbs moving with an unsettling cadence. Amy was trapped. Frantically, she looked for an escape route. The emergency exit sign flickered at the end of the corridor, promising a path to safety. With a surge of adrenaline, Amy darted toward it, weaving through the advancing horde. The undead reached out with cold, grasping hands, their moans intensifying with every step. The emergency exit swung open, revealing a moonlit graveyard beyond. Amy hesitated for a moment, contemplating the risk of facing the unknown outdoors. The relentless advance of the reanimated corpses left her with no choice. She plunged into the graveyard, the uneven ground beneath her feet slowing her escape. The moon cast an eerie glow on the tombstones, creating long shadows that seemed to stretch and writhe. Amy's breath caught in her throat as she realized the graveyard was not empty. From the soil, more figures emerged, zombified remnants of the deceased, clawing their way to the surface. Trapped between the relentless pursuit of the morgue's undead inhabitants and the freshly awakened corpses in the graveyard, Amy fought back the rising wave of panic. She needed a plan, a way to navigate through the twisted labyrinth of death closing in around her. With quick thinking, Amy noticed an old chapel at the edge of the graveyard. Determined to find sanctuary, she sprinted towards it, the undead trailing behind her. The chapel door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit interior. Amy slammed it shut behind her, barricading it with a heavy pew. The chapel offered a temporary respite, but Amy knew she couldn't stay hidden forever. Her eyes darted around, searching for any sign of salvation. To her relief, she noticed a trap door in the corner of the chapel leading to a narrow underground passage. Without hesitation, Amy descended into the darkness below, the trapdoor closing with a muffled thud. The narrow tunnel stretched before her, and she moved through it with trepidation. As she ventured deeper, the sounds of the undead above became faint echoes, replaced by the distant drip of water and the eerie silence of the catacombs. The passage led Amy to a forgotten part of the hospital, a labyrinth of interconnected tunnels and chambers that seemed untouched by time. In her desperate flight, she stumbled upon a room filled with medical supplies. A glimmer of hope flickered within her as she spotted a radio on the table. With trembling hands, she tuned it to the emergency frequency. "Mayday, Mayday. This is Amy from St. Agnes Hospital. I'm trapped, surrounded by the undead. Is anyone out there?" Static greeted her, but she persisted. After what felt like an eternity, a voice crackled through the radio. "This is Central Dispatch. Amy, help is on the way. Hold tight." Relief washed over her, but the sound of approaching footsteps in the tunnel reminded her that time was of the essence. Amy grabbed a flashlight and a medical kit, mustering the strength to continue her journey through the catacombs. As she navigated the winding tunnels, she stumbled upon an ancient burial chamber. The walls were adorned with faded frescoes depicting scenes of death and resurrection. The air in the chamber grew colder, and Amy sensed a presence lingering in the shadows. A whisper echoed through the catacombs, sending a shiver down her spine. "Leave this place, Amy. The dead do not rest peacefully here." The voice seemed to emanate from the ancient murals, as if the spirits trapped within them sought to communicate. Determined to survive, Amy pressed on, her flashlight revealing the path ahead. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Amy emerged into the hospital basement. The distant wails of the undead still echoed, but the catacombs had granted her a temporary reprieve. She climbed the stairs, emerging into the sterile environment of the hospital once more. As she stepped into the well-lit hallway, a team of emergency responders rushed towards her. Relief flooded Amy's senses as they surrounded her, offering protection from the horrors she had faced in the morgue and the graveyard. In the aftermath of that night, St. Agnes Hospital became a place of whispered legends, a story passed down among the staff about the night the dead came to life. Amy, forever changed by her encounter, left her job at the morgue, haunted by the memories of that fateful night. That would be quite the lawsuit. That wasn't in job description, ha ha ha. Dumb joke, I know anyway. Got some gnomes and some slashers in near future, so watch for those. And subscribe, smash the like buttons, and share with all those beautiful horror fans. And on social media, of course. And as always, my friends, I'll see you on the dark side. Sweet nightmares.